This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Hey, indie filmmakers, I'm Nick Bodmer.
I'm Griffin Hammond, and today I'm sharing my crazy experience of filming election night in America, how much travel and expense and work hours go into building maybe 5 minutes of television on a premium cable network where I got a credit at the end of a major television show. That's pretty cool. And this is also the story of how I safely navigated a known COVID positive crew member on our team, how we worked safely around them successfully, and I did not get sick.
So you had a crazy election night and election week. It sounds like, kind of out of the blue.
Yeah, I wasn't fully expecting to cover anything in the lead up to the U.S. Midterm election on November 8th, but I got a call out of the blue from The Circus, which is a show on Showtime. It's actually produced by a company called Left Right. They needed some extra camera work during the production. And in fact, they seem to always call me like every election. I think I've worked the 2018 election for them, the 2020 election for them, the 2022 election for them. They always do, like, for their final episode, like this was the season finale, they always seem to do a lot of coverage around the U.S. And, it's just, there's a lot of races that matter. And so they just needed more eyeballs.
More people in more places, really, is kind of the issue, right? Yeah.
And I have a history with this team because I have traveled with them a lot, even when I wasn't working for them. The show is produced by John Heilman, who has been, in several times in my history, has been my boss. And also one of the producers on the show, Tom Johnson, is another friend of mine who I've worked for a few times. And so they know me. They know what I'm capable of. They know that I know elections. They know that I know them and their culture to some extent. And so it's easier for me to slot in than maybe some other freelancers, because I'm sure there are other freelancers that are more talented than me. But this is like a good example of if you can fit on a team culturally, or just be a really nice person, you can find work.
Well, I'm guessing it's pretty easy for them to just be like, be at this place and do your thing, and they don't have to give you a lot of like direction. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that I shot for them was in McAllen, Texas. It's a border town, and they needed me to cover, this was like Sunday night, so a night before, or like 2 nights before the election on Tuesday. And they just needed me to cover this event where several prominent Republicans were making the case for these House candidates. They're trying to push more congressional candidates across the finish line. And so this was kind of an important dramatic element in the show. But they also trusted me enough that normally on this show, they have like a pretty big crew. It might be like a camera person and a sound engineer and several producers and maybe some talent on site. It's like there could be 5 to 10 people at a location, but they just sent me and a PA. And also I got on the call with them and I was like, do you need me to film like the entire event or like cover all of it? Or do you trust me to pick up the things that I know you need? And they were like, we trust you. So it's cool that they just like dropped me in and knew that whatever I came out with would be what they needed to tell that part of the story.
So I think this is interesting. So they might have at least 5 crew members there to do a shoot like that, and you just had you and a PA. So talk me through, in fact, I'm actually a little surprised you even had a PA.
Yeah.
How do you leverage your PA? What did they do for you?
Well, I mean, that was really helpful because especially at these kind of events, run and gun events, I like to be lightweight and be nimble and get a lot of different camera angles. Like I make it seem like I have many cameras there because I'm like running around the event, knowing that this is normally a 30-minute show. For this finale, it was an hour long, but it's like an hour of television with crews all over the country. This is not live television. This is a very different production style. I don't need to capture 100% of what happens. So I don't need to stay, at the back of the room filming the one locked down camera shot of Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader. I can pick up a shot here, and then when he's talking about something boring, I can run across the room and pick up a different shot, and in the end make it look like I had 5, 10 angles on him. I can get all sorts of crowd reaction shots too. So the problem with that is that I bring all this gear. It's still, I'm trying to be lightweight, but like I have a gimbal, I have 2 camera bodies, I have an audio set up in one corner of the room, which we'll talk about in a moment. But it means I'm just leaving gear all over the place, and I always get nervous about like, or like pulling my case around. And so, it's not the most glamorous job, but I was really glad that the PA was there to just manage my equipment and keep an eye on everything and help me.
Sure.
He actually like picked me up from the airport and drove me to set, and it's just all those sorts of things where you're just like, man, I just wish I had someone who could help me. And honestly, he's like more talented than that. He was like, I could have helped you with camera work, but like I know that you just didn't need it.
Right. Sounds like kind of my job when I have filmed with you. Just like hand you microphones and maybe push record on a camera if you trust me.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I'm not great at delegating in those sorts of situations. Like I probably could have said like, yeah, pick up my second camera body and shoot some stuff. But I also...
Well, especially when you have no time to get to know the person and figure all that out.
Yeah, I really don't know what he's capable of.
So how did the footage come out from that event? Were you happy with it?
Yeah. In fact, John Hammond, the executive producer of the show, sent me a text after they had like finished the edit on like Saturday or Sunday morning before the show came out. And he said like, hey, I was really impressed by your footage. It was beautiful. And it actually got a pretty good whack, he said, in the show, which I was curious how that would turn out. Because like there have been times when I've shot for the show when like my footage makes up like 5 seconds. or
So you said a pretty good whack. Is that an industry term? Or is
I think it's a John term.
Okay,
yeah.
I was going to say, I'm not
familiar
with that
a
one,
whack,
but maybe I just
the
don't know
unit of filmmaking measurement.
So how much of it do you think made the show? Have you seen it yet?
Yeah, so the portion from that Texas shoot, and just to put this in perspective, like this was like a whole day of traveling to get to this border town because it's kind of difficult to get to. And I was there for 90 minutes. I probably gave them, 30 minutes of footage for this event. And, it's like the cost of getting me there with airfare and my fee. I mean, it probably cost them just to get me to Texas, like all in for this footage. It probably cost them $4,000, maybe somewhere under $5,000.
Sure.
And in the end, I think 37 seconds made it into the show.
It's actually probably pretty cheap in terms of dollar per second on Showtime.
Yeah. I mean, but then like you figure like this is an important beat in the narrative. It was important to be with Kevin McCarthy, and actually like Ronna McDaniel, the RNC chair, was also there, and Newt Gingrich was there. These were like, 3 high-profile Republicans on just before the election making their case. So it was an important piece of drama for their story. But yeah, it is kind of silly. I wouldn't spend that much money for 37 seconds, but I make different kinds of things.
So let me ask you, when you're at an event like this, do you feel, and maybe this isn't even a question that matters or makes any sense, but are you more of a journalist when you're there, or are you more of a camera guy?
Definitely a journalist. I think in a few different ways. I mean, I need to be familiar with these people. I think that's one of the reasons they like dropping me in, like, rather than someone who doesn't have election and politics experience. Like, you better know who Kevin McCarthy is because he's your main character tonight. And, you don't want to like walk past him in a hallway and not get the shot. And also they trusted me to like look for the kinds of sound bites they would need. Because here's how I had to set up my audio. Because I didn't have an audio person, and they also didn't have a mult box. They didn't even have like a good way for me to plug into their microphone. Because this wasn't like a highly covered event. There was like a Fox News camera there, and I think it was me. It might have just been us. And the Fox News camera was in the back of the room. He put a microphone on the lectern, like a wireless stick mic. And I just thought to myself, I don't think that's going to work, because I bet they're not going to stay behind the lectern. And sure enough, none of them did. None of the speakers did. They were like holding a microphone as they walked around. So what I did, because I know that the circus does this a lot, and I know they're comfortable with this style of audio, is I just set up a little tripod with a shotgun mic on the tripod. It was kind of silly to see like just a tiny shotgun mic on a whole tripod, but I just put it off to the side of the event, pointing at one of the speakers. It was probably 5 feet away from the speaker. And I set the audio levels on my Zoom H5 audio recorder. And I just figured I'll just capture, I can't capture close, clear audio through the microphone, but I can at least capture close, clear audio to the speaker, which is not ideal, but like this is
it's one step removed, but not bad.
And this is
whatever the audience is hearing and how clearly they're hearing it is what you'll get.
At least I'm hearing that audio closer and clearer than like the applause on the other side of the event.
I want you to watch Nancy Pelosi hand me that gavel.
And that was always my strategy when I did weddings.
Yeah.
I did the exact same thing. I would just mic a speaker because then I knew all the speeches and everything. I was just going to get everything that came out. So,
well, and this is something I learned from this crew because like they're doing professional audio most of the time with their sound guy. And so many times I've seen them just hold the boom mic up to the speaker. And I was like, oh, really? I guess that's the best thing here. And this is a cinema verite documentary show, so they're okay that it like sounds like you were there in the room. Now, granted, they did not set audio levels very well on this event, so when you watch it back, the audio is not ideal. It's like a little bit hot,
right?
But that's what it was like to be at the event, and at least you can tell what they're saying, which is the most important thing. But I feel like I had a point to all of that. Yeah, it was that. Because I was recording audio the entire time, nonstop into the Zoom H5, I knew that I could wait until Kevin McCarthy was going to say something important. And as a journalist, I'm looking for specific types of things I want to hear him say that I know will serve the narrative of this hour-long program. I know that we don't have time to hear his whole speech. So I really want to hear, like, Kevin McCarthy, you might become Speaker of the House. If the Republicans control the Congress, you could oust Nancy Pelosi. So I want to hear you mention her or taking over or what you might do. What are your aspirations as a policymaker for the future of America? And also I want to hear, like, what are the stakes here? Like, how important is it? Are you going to make a strong call to action to get people to show up to vote on Tuesday? So I'm kind of looking for, like, I want the animated emotional stuff. I want like you got to get out Tuesday. You got to bring your friends and family, and the future of America is at stake. And here's my plan for being the next Speaker of the House. Those are all the kinds of like things I'm waiting to hear. And if he starts saying those things, I need to pull up my camera real fast, hit record, and then we'll match that shot to the audio track.
And does that make the editor's life that much easier that you didn't just record for 90 minutes and say, here, go watch the whole thing, and you pick it out, that it's kind of almost pre-selected for them?
I mean,
is that an advantage, or is it just to make your life easier while you're filming?
It's both, because I know I'll get tired. My arms will get tired, and my shots will suffer if I try to film the whole thing. It's like if I need to film the whole thing, then I should probably put it on tripod, and that's not going to be the look that they're looking for this show. But I hope that the editor was helped. Luckily, this footage came in very early in their week. They have to edit the show before Sunday when it airs, and this was shot this was shot a full week before the show aired. I'm assuming they have the tools they need to sync all this footage with the audio track easily. I'm hoping it wasn't a challenge for them, but they found what they needed.
What camera did you shoot with?
This was on two GH5 Mark IIs, and I realized after I shot it in 4K. I shot it in 24 frames per second or 23.98 because this show, even though ultimately television is 30 frames, they do shoot it in 24 because they want that like cinematic look. Even though I personally don't agree with that trade-off. I think 30 is a great frame rate. That's the way this show has always been shot.
Well, because it's going to get broadcast in 30, right?
I know. So that seems silly to me a little bit, yeah. But I know that's a common thing in video production. Yeah. A lot of people shoot 24 to set their stuff apart from the 30 frame stuff, and then they just deal with the pull down that happens on broadcast. I mostly worry about it because I know that I may run into like weird shutter situations. A light may flicker weird in 24. That's my main concern with shooting in 24.
Right. So that was Texas, but you weren't done yet, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so this could have just been a one-day thing, and I would have been happy. I mean, it was very last minute, because all I'd been told was that, like, a crew had gotten sick. Actually, it might have just been a rumor. I didn't even know for sure. It was like they were down a crew for some reason, although I didn't question it much because I knew that they would always need more people on election day. But it sounded like they would have had someone else cover this event. They didn't have them. So they called me, like, Saturday night at 11 p.m. and they were kind of like, can you get on a 5 a.m. flight to Texas? And the reason I had to go so early, even though I had to travel like a full 12 hours before this event, because it is not easy to get to McAllen, Texas. I had to fly from O'Hare to Kansas City to Houston to a little town called Harlingen, which I may be pronouncing wrong, and then we had to actually drive 45 minutes to McAllen. I'm assuming some of this is because, like, they're booking it 5 hours before the flight. Like, there aren't many flights left.
And do they take care of booking all this travel and the logistics of it for you, or was it just like, here's where you need to be, good luck?
No, they booked it all, and that's the nice thing with working with this team. I mean, they have a big team of producers and a lot of experience booking last minute travel all over the country. So they did a great job finding some options and booking it for me, and then making sure they had hired a local PA to pick me up. I mean, they just handled all the details. They even had a chauffeur come pick me up at 5 a.m. because they asked me if I could Lyft or Uber, and I was kind of like, I think so, but I'm nervous that I don't know what the inventory is like at like 4:35 a.m. in my smallish town.
Yeah.
There may not be anyone. So they found like a Chicago area car service to come get me.
Fancy.
And then, so they just did all this real quick. It was like, go to Texas. You don't even know what's going to happen next. And then once I'd finished the Texas shoot, they were like, okay, actually, we could also use you in Denver tomorrow. Would you like to do that? And I was like, of course. It's like I'm making my day rate. This would have been worth it for one day, but I was, kind of secretly hoping, like, I hope they keep using me. So they actually ended up using me for 4 days, which was great because that made it quite worth my while.
Back to freelancing, my friend. This is what you're looking for,
Yeah, this
right?
is exactly what I need. Because, I'm not going to work. I'm not working this week. I'm just recording a podcast. But, 4 days.
I'm not paying you your day rate for us to record this, unfortunately.
Yeah. But then, then they sent me to Denver. And here's where, like, the assignment got strange. It wasn't like go to Denver because there's some important, you need to go interview Senator Michael Bennet or something. It was go to Denver because that is where John Heilman is, and the executive producer of the show, who's also a host of the show and who I know very well and am good friends with. And he is sick with COVID. And we need you to film him for the show. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, you want to go be around someone who's COVID positive? But this was a scenario where, there's a lot of safety in knowing who's sick. So he couldn't be on the road anywhere. He was kind of stuck in Denver. And the idea was they were going to let me film him from outside a house that he's staying in. Like, I will never go in the house. He will, the idea is that, like, in this show, they do a lot of, like, phone calls with all the different hosts because they're all over the country. And so they do these, like, round table phone calls. And, it's like, let's check in and see what's going on with Jen and Tim. And, someone's in Florida and someone's in Pennsylvania. And so John is stuck in Colorado, but can we at least get a nice shot of him doing his, like, FaceTime calls that we are going to use on the show? And so he's inside the house. I'm shooting, establishing shots, exterior shots outside the house. I'm shooting through windows, shooting through open screen doors on the porch. We did some outdoor shooting where he was on the porch, but I'm like 15, 20 feet away from him. I was masked the whole time. And so I felt pretty confident that we were following the CDC guidance, that I was never actually in close contact with him. But it was kind of a weird They kept apologizing to me.
Now, did you have some assistance for this shoot as well, or were you by yourself?
No, I also had a producer I was working with named Kat, and she was super helpful. But again, it was kind of like a small team compared to normally they would have maybe 5 people around John.
So, all right, I want to get into the nitty gritty of this. Okay, so I'm imagining a house with a porch, and there's windows open, and you're like outside with a tripod pointing through the window, right? And you're like, what, rip the screen out or something so you don't have any obstruction?
Yeah, we took out one of the screens. We would,
and then like, do you like set a light up inside and like tell him how to set it up, or like how do you light him?
We thought about that kind of stuff, but we ended up just using the natural lighting of the house. And the only time I used a light was when he was out. Well, regardless if he was out on the deck or not, when it was night, I had a light that I would set up outside on the deck, just because if I'm filming from a dark deck into a house and I want to show off the like foreground obstruction, because 1, it looks visually interesting, and 2, it helps sell this true narrative that the camera is far away from him and away from him outside. It's like we want to convey visually that I am not in danger, that there is a separation.
Like, literally the window frame is in the shot.
Yeah, like I'm getting a lot of like, we would like open the screen door, but like the handle of the screen door, the sliding door. The screen is out, but like the handle of the sliding door is like in the shot, which.
So is it part of the show that he had COVID and was having to shoot this way? Like, is that okay?
Yeah. So it's like fully acknowledged in like the first, it's like 10 minutes or 15 minutes into the episode. They have this whole actually pretty funny scene where he's like calling his producer saying like, I got bad news. This is what's happening to me. Actually, the scene starts with someone like a fan of his. People are always like recognizing John in public. Like someone sees him and is like, hey, can I give you a hug? And he's like, no, not right now. I'm COVID positive.
I just tested positive for COVID, so I don't think you necessarily want to do that.
And
oh boy!
But then they do this whole scene where they establish it, and then the next time you see John in the show is they're doing their roundtable. Everyone's checking in, and you hear all of his co-hosts saying like, "Oh, John, we're so sorry that you can't like be out at these campaign events, but he's still there to like provide his feedback and his expertise on what's happening in the election." And so that first scene we shot of him doing a roundtable, it was actually like just before sundown, and we did it out on the deck, and it actually looked really nice. The like kind of glowing Colorado tree background behind him. But then every other shoot we did was at night, which was a little bit harder because there wasn't nearly as much beauty, but it did mean I could shoot into the windows. I probably couldn't shoot through the windows during the day. And then we got a lot of these what they call on this show dirty shots, where you're like filming with foreground obstruction when there's like the door handle in. That's a dirty shot for them.
All right, I'm gonna have to go watch this. So this is on Showtime, right? It's The Circus, and this was episode 16.
Yeah, it's the season finale of season 7, so it's episode 16, and it's called Riptides. It aired on November 13th, 2022. We are recording this 5 days later.
I'm gonna have to go put that on the old DVR.
Yeah. And what I always end up doing is I'm not usually a Showtime subscriber, so I'll like sign up for a free trial to watch my own work.
That's interesting. Like, can you ask somebody for a copy?
Yeah.
Would they just send you a file? Or
yeah,
no?
I probably could have gotten the screener, but I wasn't gonna. I know how busy they always are on Sundays when because it's just so much work going into the show. I'm not gonna like add one more text for them to respond to.
Yeah, absolutely. When you always worry about putting people out.
Yeah,
and you're probably not. But that's just your MO.
So yeah, the lighting was very simple for these shoots, and
what about sound?
Then for sound,
so lighting was natural, but you got to put a mic on it.
Yeah, so
you put on a hazmat suit and go in and mic him up.
I just pushed a wireless lav mic into the house, let him come get it, and then I had to instruct him how to put it on, and I hadn't really prepared for this because so John would be inside the house looking at a mirror, putting his mic on. And then he'd like come into position for me to film, and I would look and I'd see like, oh, the lav is the wires just dangling all down the front. And so I was trying to explain to him, and I don't even think I could explain this on the podcast very effectively, how I usually do it. It's like I take the wire and like curl it back and back inside. It's like it makes a coil like going inside the shirt.
A little loop, and then you put it back through the clip,
and then the loop
right? So that
sits on the inside
so
of the clip. Yeah, so the clip itself is holding it like an inch into the shirt, so that hopefully the way it dangles is straight down, not visible, but like on the inside. But this is exactly like the words I was trying to say to John, and he was like, this is like explaining like origami, like vocally
blindfolded.
It doesn't work very well.
Have you ever seen? There's people who do this like as like a funny streaming thing, and maybe if you ever do a membership, we could do something like this where one person you get a Lego set. And like I would have the instructions, but you'd have the Lego set, and I would have to just verbally tell you how to put the Lego together. That would be fun.
Well, and fortunately,
you don't sound interested.
No, that does sound interesting.
But you would think, like, how many times has John had a mic put on him? Like 10,000 times? Like, come on.
Yeah,
John.
although I don't know.
Pay
Everyone
attention.
probably does it differently. I don't even know if the way I do it is like a normal. There's probably a better way. And I thought about like giving him some gaff tape and like taping it to the inside of his shirt or something. But also, fortunately for me, John likes me a lot, has a lot of patience with me, and is the sort of talent that enjoys learning about technology and production techniques. Like, you can imagine a lot of people on camera would have just been annoyed and like, I'm not going to do this, or I don't want to do it the right way. But like, John cares to learn, and so it was it took a little bit longer than I expected to explain it, but it went well. It worked out okay. Although I feel like when I watched the show,
and
there may still have been some moments where it slipped free. And it was not.
That's all right. This was on election night, is that right? So he's kind of like reacting to things coming in and stuff like that? Is that kind of what you were shooting?
Yeah, and that was a long night because like I think we started at like I think we were on set at like noon, and then I was there until like I don't know 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I had another hour of like uploading and stuff. I feel like I finally went to sleep at like 4:30 or 5 a.m.
So you were there from noon to 3 in the morning, and you weren't allowed to go in the house? You just like stood on the porch that whole time?
Yes. Well,
it sounds like a blast.
And here's the real problem of all of this is Colorado during the day it was like 70 degrees. It was really nice. At night it would drop down to like cold. 40 or 30, and which isn't terrible. But here's what happened when I
You packed for Texas.
I packed for Texas. Border town, Texas, which was 98 degrees or something crazy when I was there.
Yeah.
And I hear a siren in the background right now. I also did not pack very much because, one, I didn't know if this was going to be like a one-day trip, but also because they had me on these 4 flights or 3 flights to...
You didn't want to check bags.
Yeah, I didn't want to check a bag. And so my carry-on bag is just full of camera equipment because I'm also like prepared for any situation, technology-wise.
Yeah.
So I really only packed like a day and a half for 2 days of clothes, and it was just short-sleeve shirts for Texas. And so as soon as I got to Denver, I had like a lightweight running jacket, which was good enough to get me, I could move around in 40-degree weather, but I can't film in it. I can't sit in it all day. So as soon as we got to Denver, as soon as I had a chance, I went to Target and I spent like $150 on, like, I got a hat and gloves and this sweatshirt that I'm wearing right now and like a couple long sleeve shirts.
Did you get to expense all that to Showtime, or did you just bite the bullet on that one?
For that, I bought the bullet. I mean, like, there were many things I expensed to them, like a COVID test and latex gloves and Lysol wipes, and food and stuff, all the normal stuff, the stuff that will get used up. But like clothes that I'm going to take home, that's not, maybe I could have, but I'm not going to do that.
Sure.
Well,
so a fun experience.
Yeah, it was fun.
A little different, kind of brought you back a couple of years from when you were running and gunning all the time, right?
Well, and it was funny because like the producers on the show kept apologizing to me because like, the trip to Texas was pretty productive, and it was fun to like shoot a real event and do it myself. That was all wonderful, and I love that they used a significant portion of it in the show. And then they're apologizing to me because it's like they didn't send me anywhere interesting. They just like trapped me outside a house for 2 days, and but it was like, I don't care. Like, you don't know that I haven't been on the road for a couple months. We talked on the podcast last time that like my mom died last month. Like, I am just happy to be on the road, getting paid, doing work. I get to like be with John, who I like. Like, they knew that they picked the perfect person to do this. Like, they knew that it would be a waste to put their like big many person crew at this house when they could be off covering an event somewhere. Right. And they thought, let's send Griffin, who knows John, who has a history with him. He won't get like annoyed with all this annoying stuff that we have to do to keep each other safe. So yeah, it was the right fit, and I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed getting my name in the credits. Because most of the stuff I've done over the years like don't have credits. Most client work I do, and like stuff for the recount, I guess my face would be in that stuff a lot. But like, I don't know, it's different to have a credit on television. It's cool.
My name in the credits of Sriracha is still like my greatest accomplishment of my whole life. So I understand. Well, should we thank our sponsor, Squarespace?
We should.
Indie Filmmakers is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your filmmaking business.
I feel like I have to talk about bio sites once again. These mini sites. It's a free product that anyone can use to make these little websites that are perfect for like putting in your Instagram bio or Twitter bio or anything like that. I feel like I've been handing out the link to my Sriracha bio site several times this week. My wife Amy, she was telling me that her coworkers wanted to know about this film that I made about Sriracha, and the bio site is like, it's just bio.site/Sriracha, and it's just a list of everywhere you can watch the film. And I realized that's a whole lot easier than being like, okay, you can watch it it's on Amazon Prime paid, it's on Vimeo paid, it's free with director's commentary on YouTube. Like, here, I'll just text you the link. Just having one place to point people to where they can find all these links is a lot better than even sending them to my full website, which has probably too much information.
You can build your free bio site right now at biosites.com. And if you prefer a full-on website, go to squarespace.com, where you can do a free trial. And then when you're ready to launch, be sure to go to squarespace.com/Griffin to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Nick, we got a tweet from Sam, who has a website for us to take a look at. I figured I have not even looked at this. We could live in real time try to figure out if this thing is worthwhile. Sam just wants to know, he said, question for the podcast, have you heard of this website, mysmash.media, for indie filmmakers to make their movie? What is your opinion of this website? And we should reiterate right at the top that we do not know what this website is. This is not an ad for mysmash.media.
As we send everyone to a scam site. It looks good.
So it says,
got
a TV or film idea? Smash is the suite of digital tools to help you create the pitch your idea deserves. Join the revolution, own it, share it, track it. Okay, so right off the bat, this doesn't sound like a way to like make your movie. It sounds like a way to make a compelling pitch to people. So what are these digital tools? Our Pitch Builder tool gives you free access to the Getty Image Easy Access library of high-resolution images and HD quality videos. So Getty is like, I mean, journalists use Getty Images all the time. It's just a huge archive of newsworthy images. Although I think Getty also has like non-editorial, like more stock photo sort of stuff. And so I wonder if the Getty Image Easy Access library is not going to be like Donald Trump photos, but it's going to be
the full thing.
It's going to be the stock stuff.
Okay. I tried to create an account, but it wants me to do a lot of stuff, so I'm not going to do that.
So at the bottom of the page, it says that there's like 4 parts to this. There's a pitch builder, which as far as I know from the website, all that is that you get Getty images. Then the next stage is you get sales estimates, get industry recognized feature film sales estimates from our experienced sales agents. Is this all to like represent your film in the end? Do they want to like be your agent? Smash? I can't tell.
Well, they've got something they call Pitch Protector, which protects your intellectual property.
And then the last stage is Talent Discoverer. Content creators can share pitches with commissioners, financiers, and decision makers knowing that their IP is protected. Yeah, I can't exactly tell.
Yeah, no, this is not something that I've used, and doesn't sound like something most of our audience would use, because I don't imagine a lot of people are making pitches out in Hollywood. But it sounds like it's a tool designed specifically to help you build a pitch that you're going to like actually probably build the it's like a PowerPoint, but for filmmakers.
Well, and there's a page called pricing, but it's very unclear. The feature film estimates cost, it says professional feature film sales forecasts cost £750. And yeah, I'm not clear. And Smash also takes a 5% success fee on the transaction if your project is discovered on Smash. So yeah, I guess they're just trying to like enable it's like, I don't even know if they want to be like your distributor, but they want to be like your agent for the idea of your film. I suppose, yeah. I mean, not something I need, but I guess if you are someone who doesn't know how to get your great idea out to production companies, this is a website that promises to help you there. At the very least.
So Sam, unfortunately I can't give you an opinion because I've never used it. But their website is pretty good, even if it is a little light on the details.
Yeah. I just can't tell, like, are you allowed to start and play around with it for free?
It says create your free pitch.
So surely the, like, creating your pitch and using Getty images to do it, to make a presentation, that's all, like, the free part.
Yeah, and then they'll take a cut if they help you sell it sounds like.
All right, there you have it. Our impromptu website review. We should do website reviews.
That's right. Well, sir, again, a pleasure.
Yeah. And I was glad that...
Do you ever have that moment at the end of recording a podcast like this where you go, oh my God, I forgot to hit record, but then you look up and you didn't forget to hit record and you feel better? Because that just happened to me.
I mean, I kind of like perpetually have that fear through my entire career. I mean, every time you finish shooting everything, you're just like... I mean, and as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, I know I'm recording video because I can see... So I actually have my camera plugged in to a cam link, an Elgato cam link, and then I have OBS open, just using OBS as a monitor on my studio display. And the main reason I'm doing that is because the way that I've oriented my camera, the LCD is actually like completely hidden by my monitor, so I have to use my monitor as a monitor for the camera. But I can see that it has the red ring around, or red border around the whole frame, so I know it's recording. But as soon as you were talking about that, I was like, well, wait, how do I know my audio's still going? So I had to check that too.
Yep, no, I had to tab over to Audio Hijack and check that too.
Audio's still going.
But recording everything. I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
And I've certainly done it in important situations where you didn't record something and that makes you feel sick.
Yeah. I think,
but not today.
By the time I put this episode out, it might be like a day before Thanksgiving. So should we?
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone!
Happy Thanksgiving. Should we say what we're thankful for?
Oh, sure. Jeez, put me on the spot. You go first.
Perhaps I'm thankful that I am privileged enough to own all the equipment I need to, on a moment's notice, someone could call me up and say, we need you in Texas tomorrow. And I have cameras, I have microphones, I have everything I need. It's some of it's old. Like my gimbal,
It's almost like it's your business.
my gimbal is like many years old and is kind of falling apart. But I used it on the shoot, and it did its job. It's like you don't always need the newest, freshest gear. If you have enough gear to get the work done, then be thankful.
All right, I got one. You know what I'm thankful for? I am thankful for YouTube. I have been watching, like, it's like probably it might be my top, like, streaming service now. Like, I watch it on my TV all the time. There's so much good content on there, and very niche content, which I love. I've been watching a lot of chess content. There's great chess YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, who wouldn't, like, it doesn't even make sense, right? And I just think it's great. So, thank you, YouTube. I pay for YouTube Premium, which I really like because I hate ads.
Oh yeah, I definitely pay for it, and I think I pay for the family so that, well, I'm sure you do too, so that like my kid,
I do.
Pete when he watches.
Yeah, I was so sick of seeing my kids. Someone's at the door. I was so sick of seeing my kids get all these, like, especially the political ads. I was like, oh my god, like, you're 7, you don't need to watch this about. Well, you've all seen the ads, you know.
I love that, like.
Happy Thanksgiving.
I'm assuming your kids are watching, like,
go ahead, you were gonna say
like
something.
Minecraft videos or something, and like I just love that they would somehow be like, yeah, and you need to see a political ad because that's
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it is. It's very frustrating, but whatever.
yeah. I guess they probably know like you're watching.
I was telling you I
too.
love YouTube, and now I'm complaining
Yeah.
about it. But I don't, they got to pay for things.
Well, and like I guess the calculus is that like you are a voter in that same household, and you may be watching the TV with your kids, and so even if the kids are choosing kids
Right.
stuff, but yeah,
Except it's like usually on their iPad.
Yeah.
Like it's not a anyway. Doesn't matter. Thank you, YouTube, very much. And I'm also thankful that I got to spend a little time with you this past
Yeah.
week. That was nice to see you in person.
yeah. In fact, it took me a little bit longer to set up my shot than usual because we had completely torn down this office because we had the service from my mom. My mom's memorial last week. Nick came, brought the whole family, and was right here in this room. I'm sorry that we didn't record something while you were here, but we had lots of
it was a busy
quality time together. But yeah, then I realized today, like right before the podcast, like, oh, I don't even have a light or a camera or my audio interface. Everything is like in the basement.
So you got all that set up, and you were only 10 minutes behind schedule. I mean, you're usually 10 minutes behind schedule when everything's ready to go.
Well,
so you worked hard and quickly.
Yeah, I was 10 minutes behind schedule after starting to set up like 40 minutes before our shoot. So.
Okay. Good. All right, my friend. We will talk to you again very, very soon.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
So what'd you say is different about your setup?
I'm only using one backlight instead of so I just have the blue one, not the amber one, and there's some boxes.
So it's messier.
It's messier, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.